and today I just wanted to show you the project that I'm working on, and we'll walk through it, and I'll kind of show you what I've got done, what I'm working on now, and what I need to do here in the future. So as you can see, I've got a old rat rod that I've been working on here for a while. I've had this thing for about 5 years, since 2017. I haven't really had a whole lot of time and the finances to do anything with it, but I think I'm finally at that point. It's titled as a 1929 Nash. It's a 29 Nash frame. The body is from a 1940s model Chevy pickup truck. When I got it, the bed came with it, but it wasn't in very good shape, and I went ahead and got rid of it. I probably should have kept it in hindsight, but it is what it is. I don't have it anymore, so we can take a look at building something later on. It's got a 8.8 inch Ford rear end. I just recently got a motor for it. It's a 351 Windsor Ford motor. It's a 94 block. It's basically bone stock. I haven't really done anything to it. I put some headers on it. That's really it. I haven't done much else to it, and I plan on keeping it that way for a little while. I got other things to focus on. But I've recently done the radiator, got that all squared away. I don't know what grill shell that's from, but it came with the truck, so I went ahead and used it. Got it all set up. Aluminum radiator, electric fan. The lights are from Speedway. Pretty much everything on this thing is from Speedway, because they're so close and their shipping is really quick. The front end is brand new, and that was one of the first things that I did. The suicide front end, and that whole setup is a kit from Speedway. It was really easy to put together, and I got a 4-link suspension on the rear end. It's not quite set in place yet. Everything's just kind of tacked in place for the rear end. But we'll be working on that here pretty quick. I've got a lot of body work to do still, but that's one of the last things that I think I'm going to work on. Currently I'm working on putting in a floor pan, because as you can see, it doesn't have one. So I'm currently looking into that. I got a C4 transmission that bolted right up to that 351, so I was thankful for that. The headers that I got didn't quite clear the cab, so I had to pull them out a little ways. They didn't clear the doors either, so I had to heat up those header tubes, and pull the collector and the muffler out and down about 3 inches. So diagonally about 4 inches total, to be able to clear the cab and the doors both. But I got that done. As you can see, I heated them up pretty good, but it came out pretty good. And see, I've got about a 1/4 inch of clearance there between the door and the muffler on both sides. So everything so far has worked out pretty well. I'm currently working on the framing for a floor pan And it's kind of the hard part right now, trying to wrap my brain around it, but I think I've got it figured out for the most part. And yeah, that's what's up next. Like I said, I've still got the rear end to kind of hammer down and get it in place permanently. I've still got to put in some shocks. I've got just about everything that I need to do everything. I was hoping to get it running this weekend. That was one of my goals, because I have the entire fuel system set up inside the house, just laying on the floor. Make sure that I've got all my connectors and everything that I need to get it done. But I don't think I'm going to be able to achieve that this weekend, because I've got some things that I need to do first before I can get that into place. I've still got a lot of welding to do on the frame and grinding, one of my most favorite things. But yeah, I need to go ahead and get this floor frame done and weld it in place so that I can take the cab back off, so it's structurally sound enough to take it off, and then be able to tackle a few other things. I need to put in a cross member for the transmission. I still have some welding to do on the frame, like I said. Some grinding as well. I plan on continuing to box in the entire frame. It's channeled right now, but I plan on boxing it in just to add some strength to the whole frame, because I don't like how flimsy it is right now. So that's one of the goals, but I'm just kind of going little by little. So I guess I'm kind of working from the front to the back, and that's fine. It's a good roller. It works right now. I got these wheels a while back. They're just old mag wheels, I guess, and they fit pretty good. They look pretty neat. They're not as big as I'd like them to be, but the most important thing is that I've got wheels on the vehicle and I can roll it around if I need to. I can roll it out and roll it back in. Not a problem. What else? I've got a gas tank sitting there. I've got my whole fuel system figured out. I've got that ready to go. Just need to put it in, but like I said, I've got a lot of other things to tackle first before I can really get to that part. But I was really excited to get it running this weekend. I want to hear it running. I know it runs. The guy I bought it from, I actually went and saw it running before he took it out, so I know the engine runs. I know the transmission works. There's just a few things that I need to do in order to get to that point. And in full disclosure, just so everybody knows, I have no idea what I'm doing. I understand the concepts. I understand what needs to be done. Getting there, though, is a whole nother story. But one thing that I love about these old cars is that you can do anything with them. They don't have to be show quality, especially these old rat rods. The purpose of a rat rod is to find pieces that are laying around and put it together with whatever you can find. Baling wire and bubble gum, basically. But I'd like to make this thing look pretty nice. I want to be proud of it while I drive it around. And yeah. Well, we're going to start on putting the frame in for the floor pan. And basically what I'm going to do is build a skeleton, sort of like ribs, up to the transmission, and then loop over the transmission to the other side, so that I can get clearance for the transmission, the bell housing, and the drive shaft. So yeah, I've got a bunch of pieces pre-cut. I basically know what I want to do, but we're just going to kind of piece it together and see how it all fits and go from there. All right, we're back at it again today. I did a pretty good job last night, I think, with the floor, the frame, getting that in place and kind of getting a rough structure on what I want it to look like. So I want to tackle the back here that sits on that frame rail, that cross frame. And so I need to build some sort of structure that attaches the back of the cab to the frame itself. So that's what I think I'm going to work on now. But before I do that, as you can see, the rust inside this thing is pretty bad, and I've kind of hit it in a couple areas to see how easy it's going to come off. So I think before I really do anything else, I want to go ahead and knock as much of this rust off as possible and maybe coat it with something, some sort of rust paint or an undercoat or something. So I may have to run to the store here pretty quick to get something to do that, but I think that's going to be my main task before I actually build out the rest of the frame. Yeah, I still have a lot of welding to do on the frame itself, but yeah, we're going to tackle this first, I think. think I ground down all the rust that was on that back panel, and I started to build the floor frame around this curve in the body, so I had to get kind of tricky with that. I built one. This is what I kind of made. I just cut a piece and then I think I cut an 8-inch piece, cut a 45 in it, and then just cut a bunch of stress cuts, some relief cuts in it to get that curvature. And I think that worked out pretty well, so I can come back and tack those together and then weld them. It'll probably draw up a little bit, but I think if I exaggerate it a little and then tack it and weld it, I think it'll work. But I've made one of these to wrap around this side, the curve on this side, and then I need to run all the way back to the other side and wrap back around and then make some connections here. I need to keep in mind that this is where my seats are going to go, so I need to be thinking about that. And I've learned, working on this project, that sometimes you need a little win. No matter how small or insignificant it might be, you just need a win to keep you motivated and keep you progressing and working on this. And I think tonight I might work on the frame just a little bit. I know I have a loop that's already cut and made right there. I need to get that attached back here and make a cut. But I think we can work on a little bit of the frame, and then I would like to take a giant step, and I bought some of this Flex Seal rubberized coating. I bought a gallon of it. It's pretty expensive. It was $105, I think. So I want to try this and see what it's like. I think we've all seen the commercials. So I want to actually try it and see what it's going to be like. And I think this is the perfect spot to do it. So I think we're going to go ahead and brush on some of this sealant, some of this coating on the back panel here. And regardless of what happens, whether it works well or not, none of that will be seen, because there's actually some interior panels that go on those rails right there. And I was able to save 2 of them. They're not in bad shape. They're actually the curved ones that go on the sides here. And they're in pretty good shape. They've got a little bit of rust, but I think I could take those in to work and sandblast them, and they'll come out just fine. All I'll have to do is make a panel that goes directly across and connects. But those panels are going to cover that up completely. And I've been thinking about what I need to do about some sort of sound deadener or insulation or something of the sort to go between there. I don't know if that's a good idea or if it's even necessary, but that's something that's been on my mind as well. So yeah, I think that's about it. I don't have a lot of time tonight, so I'm going to try to get as much of this done as possible and get a good head of steam for tomorrow. after we got that welded, those two hoops welded, I went ahead and ground them down, and while I was at it, I decided to go ahead and, I don't know if you can see that real well, I decided to go ahead and put in these pieces here running across, and I actually like that. I think for the most part here, I guess relatively soon, one thing I haven't looked into is a shifter, so that's going to be on my list pretty quick. But I like this idea because I'll have a place to mount it, and I'll be able to keep it this way until I actually get a shifter. I'm actually able to put it in and test fit it and all that stuff, and then I can weld whatever pieces I need to fit the shifter. So I really like this right here. It actually came out better than I expected. But yeah, anyway, I'm pretty happy with that. We got some of this stuff welded up. Still have a lot more welding to do. I want to do that after I take the cab off, because I'll have a lot more room, freedom of mobility to do that. I'll be able to get up underneath and weld what I need to and grind off anything that I need to. I still need to kind of address back in the back of the shell, but right now, because it's getting late and I need to see what it looks like and allow it to dry, I want to go ahead and put some of that Flex Seal on there and see just exactly how it works, if it works, if it's going to work, what it looks like, if it's going to actually adhere to the surface. I scuffed it up quite a bit. You probably can't tell, but I scuffed it up quite a bit. I think you saw me the other day grinding on it with a wire wheel, so it should be good. And then I took some sandpaper, some rough grit sandpaper, and kind of scuffed it up a little bit so that that rubber could adhere to the metal. So we're going to see how it works, and we're going to stop just short of where the frame is going to run on the bottom. That way I can tack the frame to the body. And yeah. Alright, so you probably can't see very well, but I got most of what I wanted to accomplish accomplished. I got, you can't see it at all, but I got that back part of the frame done. I've got it braced up pretty good. I've got the ribs in and everything. I've got the, I don't know, the hoop or whatever you want to call it over the drive shaft and the transmission. I don't have everything up front done yet. I'm going to wait for that, because the next thing that I'm going to tackle is the firewall. So I'm ready to take this thing off, weld it all up. What I have right now, I think this is good enough for now. I have a lot of bracing that I still need to do, address all over the place. Like I said, I have to do the front part of the frame, but right now I'm happy with where it's at. I'd like to take it off, go ahead and weld everything up, get it exactly where I want it nailed down and everything, and then cut out the firewall, put in a new piece, and then build the frame from there. But I think that's pretty good. We're in a good spot as of right now, so that's what's coming up next. So here's the firewall, getting ready to cut that out and replace it with the new one that I cut last night. All right, got that firewall cut out, got it ground down a little bit. I think I've got a little bit of work to do to kind of clean it up and get the edges ready to work. But I also have a firewall that I cut specifically for this. Fits really well. and I'm just waiting for my bead roller to get here because I'd like to put some strength in that sheet metal before I actually weld this on. But I'm ready to go. I'm just waiting for that stupid bead roller to show up. It was supposed to be here yesterday. Something happened with the delivery service. I don't know, but they've got it. It's supposed to be out for delivery today. It's supposed to be here today. And I'm ready. I'm ready to get on this, install everything, put it back. Once I get the firewall in place, I'll be able to actually start working on building the frame out to the firewall right here, and then finish around the bell housing for the transmission. Yeah, I'm ready to go. Start laying some floor, get this thing ready. Where are we at? Cut out the firewall, made a new one, got my bead roller in, did some pattern in there just to help strengthen it up a little bit. Cut the firewall out, tacked it together, welded it together, as you can see, and then I finished. I'm basically about finished with my entire frame for the floor. I got everything welded. Everything is solid and welded. I got it welded to the firewall. Now I'm just at the hard part. That was a lot of welding, by the way, but now I'm at the hard part where I have to grind everything. I've been welding for 22 years and I'm a pretty good welder, but at this point in my career I'm probably a better grinder. So not my favorite thing to do ever, but I'm gonna go ahead and grind this stuff down. I think the only thing that I have left to do on this frame is to run some more pieces across here for my shifter. I don't have that. I bought one. It's sitting in the house. I got to put it together, but I need to go ahead and get that figured out. But what I think I'm going to do first is grind all this stuff down, get it nice and flat. That way I can get up underneath it as well, sitting up about 1.5 feet off the ground now. So I can grind everything that I need to, get it where I want it to be, and then I think I'm going to go ahead and prep and prime and maybe paint, maybe get ready for paint. I don't know, but I think I'm going to go ahead and do this whole area. You can see right here where there's a transition in the body in the front. So I think what I'm going to do is try and grind. I just need to get this rust off the best that I can, but I'm going to go ahead and come all the way up to about here, all the way across, and follow that ridge and grind all this stuff down and prime it and get it ready. And I think ultimately I'm going to paint all of it black. I want the whole front in this area black, and then I'm going to do the rest in blue. So the rest of the body will be in blue, but this front part here will be in black. I think that'll be pretty cool. I think it'll look pretty good, but it's going to take a lot of work. I got a lot of stuff to do, and then we're going to take the cab, we're going to put it on the frame, and I have my brake pedal assembly and everything. I believe it's a 30s Model T, 1930s Model T brake system, master cylinder pedal assembly. So I have that all put together inside the house. I need to get the body back on the frame so that I can locate where that brake pedal assembly is going to go, how it's going to mount to the frame, get it kind of located, and then I can start putting the floor down. And that's what I'm most excited to do. I'll show you one more thing back here. I was talking about these rails and putting something behind them, or putting something back here to do a sound deadener. So I got all that stuff in place. You can see I put that rubberized coating on there. It didn't work as good as I thought, but I have a whole gallon of it, so I might do the whole interior with it just to use it up, because I don't need it for anything else. You know, maybe the frame, I don't know, but we'll get there when we get there. All right, here we are. I just spent about 2 hours, 3 hours maybe, I don't know, grinding down the firewall, getting a nice edge on it. It still needs a little bit of work. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of rough on that edge there. So I'm gonna have to get in there and try and make it a little bit straighter, a little bit nicer, a little bit less rough. Anyway, but I got the rest of it all ground down, and I think it looks pretty good. There's some spots you could see, some kind of low spots. I don't know if you can see that right there and over here, but there's a couple areas where it's not perfect, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm not looking for this thing to be show quality. I just want it to work, and I think this is plenty functional, and I think I can make it look pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and primer this front area just because I need some sort of major accomplishment today. But yeah, it looks good, and I'm going to try to get the rest of this stuff ground down probably tomorrow. I don't have a lot of time today. It's the holidays, but I'm going to try to get the rest of this ground down and primered and painted black. I'd like to paint it black around there, and that'll be a major accomplishment for me, and a huge boost of motivation. So here's where I'm at. I just spent some time, probably the past 2 hours, getting all this area ground down, getting all the rust off of all that, and it looks pretty good. There's a couple spots that needed to be addressed, but it's no big deal. I am going to use some body filler in a couple spots. There's a spot down on the other side down here that I had to address, and then there's a couple other spots that aren't a big deal. I'm not really worried about, it's about the size of a dime, but there's a couple spots that I just had to address. And then I have this ridge that looks terrible, this is the area that I welded to and ground down, and so what I think I'm going to do is just put some body filler in there and just make a good nice round radius all the way around. So that's where I'm at right now, and that's what I'm going to do next. Then we'll get it painted. Okay, so here's the finished project. As you can see, I got everything taped off, and I got everything painted, primered and painted. I think I did a fairly good job. Like I said, I'm not a bodywork expert or anything like that. I'm not looking for a show quality finish, and you can tell this is not full show quality. I do have some areas, I don't know if you can see this right here, I do have some areas that I'm not terribly proud of. You can see that right there. I could have done a little bit better job on some of this stuff, but I got a pretty good radius all the way around. That's kind of what I was shooting for, just to make it look nice and cohesive. I think it turned out pretty good. Yeah, I went ahead, you can see I went ahead, there was these holes all over, I'm assuming to bolt up the fenders and the hood and whatever, I don't know what it is, but I went ahead and put some washers and then popped some rivets in there, and I've got some silicone up underneath just to kind of keep it all sealed, and I kind of did that all the way around. There's a couple spots you can see that I have those indentions, but there's not a hole drilled. I might go ahead and try and drill those later, but as of right now I think this is where we're gonna keep it. On the inside I did grind down everything flat so that we can go ahead and start measuring out some panels and getting those cut and mocked up, but I think that's gonna be a little bit later on, sometime next week. So I'm pretty happy with the progress. I'm pretty happy with how everything came out. Yeah, I'm really excited to keep pushing on this project. I think it looks really pretty good, a lot better than I expected. So yeah, I think that's where we're going to leave it for this video. I thank you folks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.